Hello, 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 and welcome to the E Show.
Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure.
Likewise.
Hi, this is Saqib Malik here, and you're watching me on the E Show, only on Womanllly.
So, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Enjoying the Karachi weather post the rains when it gets really hot.
Yes.
So, but otherwise, all is good.
So, do you want to introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. So, to people who are not aware of who I am, my name is Saqib Malik. I'm a producer director, and I've been in this business in Pakistan since 1988.
Wow.
I started out in advertising, where I was a copywriter, and then I became a creative director. And then I decided in 1995 to get into production full time as a director. And not I, but me and another director, Asim Raza, who's very well known.
Yes.
We set up a company called Synergy Productions, which lasted for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, he went his way, I went my way. I set up my company, Page 33 Productions. And since then, that's 1996 till today, 2022, I've been at it. So primarily, I've been making television commercials, producing and directing. And I've done, maybe thousands, at least 1,000 or 2,000 to KU. But in the middle, I was also a journalist. I used to write for Dawn, which is a daily English daily, very well-known English daily in Pakistan.
Yes.
And Star and Herald, which used to be a monthly magazine, which is also very popular, and now it's no longer there. Then early 2000s, I started making music videos, and my first music video was by a band called Rush, which was a very experimental band, and their song was called Behti Naar, and that song is famous because it got banned.
Oh.
For its theme and all of that.
Yeah.
And then after that, I made Khawaja, which everybody knows, and Ghumtana with Salman Ahmed, which I went and shot in India.
Oh.
But Patiala with Nandita Das in it.
Yeah.
And then when Urmila came to Pakistan as a peace gesture, I shot that video, which was Deewane, again with Fusion.
Yes.
Then I went on to do many other videos. Trying to think which ones there were. Seb and Hania Ka at the bar. Then I did that Love Me Gum's promotional song for Reema's movie.
Yeah.
And many other things. I really can't remember the top of my mind. So yeah, and then in 2019, I decided to make a movie, which
my favorite movie.
Which I had been planning to do for a very long time, which was in my kind of brain for the last, not this film, but the idea of wanting to make a film was in my brain for like good 20-25 years.
Yeah.
So I finally made it. It's called Baji.
Yes.
It was released in 2019, right before the pandemic. And here I am. So I'm still making commercials, and I'm about to make a music video after a very long time.
Oh, wow.
So I'm very excited about that. But I don't want to mention who and what right now, but it's got two of Pakistan's most amazing celebrated singers, and I'm really looking forward to that.
So are we. We're so excited for that. You're going to be seeing it on my stories, guys, so stay tuned for that. So you have done filmmaking and then song directing and then commercials also. So which one do you personally enjoy the most?
Well, they all three are part of the same kind of larger story.
Yes.
I mean, in all three forms, whether it's making a music video, commercial, or a feature, you're telling stories.
Yes.
The objectives are different. Your durations are different. The structure is slightly different.
Yeah.
But I think the most satisfying for me has been really making that film.
Yes.
Because for any person who wants to be called a filmmaker, you have to make, I think, a long form feature film or a series. But of course, movies have always been the crowning glory of this field, right?
Yes.
And so the process was really tough. I still think, I'm suffering from PTSD from making Baji 3 years later. But it was also very rewarding.
Yes.
Because everything that you've learned then goes into the process of making a film. So Baji, I co-wrote, I can't say I wrote, of course. Irfan Ahmed Urfi, very well-known writer, wrote it. I collaborated with him. And I, of course, produced it and directed it. So, and, so when you're doing all of those things, it really becomes a kind of a one-person show.
Yeah.
In the sense of trying to just run it day to day and think creatively. So it was very tough.
The best thing about Baji, what I felt like as an audience member, was that every shot, every scene, and everything, when it all came together, it didn't feel like a drag. Because oftentimes in movies, it feels like you've stretched the story or you've stretched the movie just to make it. So every scene, you're hooked onto the movie. You wouldn't check your phone, you wouldn't check messages, wouldn't reply to anything. You're hooked onto the screen. So I think that is very commendable, because not a lot of people can pull that off.
Hey, thank you. I'll take that as a big compliment, because one of the best kind of feedbacks that I received from the film was that it looked and felt like a movie. It was a cinematic experience for Pakistani cinema goers in particular. And the reason for that is because the film paid homage to our own cinema and to the conventions of our own cinema, to the tropes of Pakistani cinema.
Yeah.
And yet it was also a departure from that, because the film was made for today's audience.
Yeah.
But it recognized that there was a certain kind of cinema that we had in the 70s and 60s. And it employed a lot of the elements from those films. So people then found it a very cinematic experience, and
because it showcases the grandiosity, the staircases and the colors and everything.
I think that, plus of course there were songs and dances in it.
Songs are really
but more
good.
than that, it had the way the story was told, I think, and the way the film was edited and put together. I think
100%.
that worked, and that was a big challenge, because I had never shot anything beyond like a music video, which is 4 to 5 minutes max.
Yeah.
And one learned a lot on the job.
Yes.
So the scripting process took about 2 years, and then once the film was done, written on page, and I started making it. Then once we got to the editing table, we realized, oh, okay, this is working, this is not working. So I actually had to reduce a good 40 minutes of what I'd edited as the first cut.
Oh.
And I had to be pretty brutal with myself, because a lot of those scenes, a lot of effort had gone, a lot of time had gone into them. But to bring the film more in focus and to make it, within like a 2 or 10 minute film, and to keep everyone's interest going, I had to be really kind of strict.
Yes.
And so it was all a learning process, really.
What I wanted to ask you was that when you are writing a story, whether it's for a commercial shoot, because in any aspect you're telling a story, right?
Bilkul.
Do you believe in fate, sir, that you were meant to conceive and perceive certain stories and project them onto the world?
Well, the thing is, I don't know about the fate part, because that question of fate is obviously something that...
Like destiny, do you feel like certain stories were destiny, that you were meant to find them and project them?
I think once you start making something, and if it's authentic and it's true and it's from the heart, it kind of creates its own universe.
Yeah.
And when it creates its own universe, it creates its own realities, and I guess it creates its own fate and its own destiny.
Yeah.
Right? And it starts all coming together and starts making sense and starts working at so many levels.
Yeah.
I've noticed that, and then things kind of mysteriously come up and work out, and you start making connections in ways that you hadn't thought of. So yes, that always happens. That's a part of a creative process, and that's part of painting, that's part of writing. Once you start creating that universe, that happens.
How does a character sort of resonate with you? Like, do you see a part of yourself in them, or do you connect in a certain way, because either when I'm looking at a character, when anyone's looking, they either like project their insecurities or something they want to achieve or something that they are in a character. So how do you really like define or make a character?
Well, because I was part of the writing process for Baji, so Yeah, in a lot of ways, you do bring out sides of yourself into different characters, because we're all like a combination of so many personalities and characters ourselves, right?
Yeah.
We're not one whole person.
Yes.
We are so many people.
Multifaceted, yes.
Right? And you do bring that out in your writing. But the thing is, you have to think of your central story. You have to think of character arcs. You have to think of story arcs. And you have to think of the world you're creating. And in that world, you then put in the characters that you think are going to further that story best.
Yeah.
And really, I'll tell you what is the best way of hooking an audience. And the audience go up. It takes 10 minutes to hook an audience, and that really comes from the characters. If your audience gets engaged with the characters or their conflicts or their predicament, then you're set. If you can get your audience to believe your characters and their motivations, then even if your film isn't that well made or it doesn't have a big budget, if you're hooked to the characters, then you will watch the whole film and enjoy it. And so with Baji, I realized that because I wasn't making a typical conventional rom-com, or I wasn't making action comedy, I wasn't making a buddy film, I wasn't making an action film, I was making a female-oriented drama that also had dark elements in it. And I had a very offbeat cast. Meera, who hadn't worked in films for like good 10-15 years, and she was a big star till about 2007-8. This is, for 10, 11 years she hadn't worked. So I said, I have to get the right characters and the right conflict in. And of course, when I cast Meera as a movie star whose career is over and she's desperate to stay relevant, automatically that brought a lot of attention to that character, or interest in that character, because Meera is such a public person. She's such a big social media person, and she's been so discussed that even if she hasn't worked, she as a person is larger than life and relevant. And then of course the Amna Ilyas character, so about a movie star and a girl who wants to make it, and a movie star whose time is over. So automatically people can relate to that, because there's intergenerational conflict, there is class conflict, there is sexual conflict. So I knew that, okay, if I get all
the topics are very, very relevant, because we're told that, unfortunately in the Pakistani or any female industry, we're told that, women have a shelf life in the media industry. And after a certain time, they can only do sisters and mothers and, the puppos and stuff like that. But you look at our male actors, like Humayun Saeed and Fahad Mustafa and all these people, they have been in the film industry since.
True.
Decades.
I think some of that is now changing. Because up to movies are kind of a niche thing. Pehle hota tha TV in movies. Now there's streaming. Now there's digital. I mean, people are making films for YouTube. I mean, there's so many different things. So because your audience has become so diversified, and your media has become so diversified, that's why you have a lot of different kind of films being made, and now there are a lot more opportunities for female actors beyond a certain age. So even if you look at it in India now, like, there are films and dramas and web series which have very good characters for elder women. Films also, hamare yahan bhi hai, you saw Kamli, you just interviewed Sarmad. I mean, that had a great role for Sania. She was the lead of the film, really, along with Sabah. So similarly with Meera, I thought, okay, let's cast her, and I just believed in the story. I thought it was the right cultural and historical moment for the story. And I thought I had to make it now, or there wouldn't be any relevance in it. And if you ask me why it was important, I'll tell you. Because around 2018, 17-18, when you had the revival of so-called Pakistani cinema, the old cinema had died. The old cinema was Lollywood, the studio-based cinema in Lahore. And a whole new cinema culture had started out of Karachi. And so all the old Lollywood stars were suddenly jobless, except for maybe Javed Sheikh, or those who moved to Karachi and managed to assimilate themselves very quickly in this new industry. So a lot of those big stars were dinosaurs by the time 2019-20 came, but they still wanted to work, they were still good. So here was this actor perched on this very precarious position where she still wants to work, she still has a lot to give, but she can't. And that is the story of Pakistani cinema.
Yeah.
That world was over and a new world was beginning.
Yeah.
So you had that tension also. So that I should make that film. And Meera, being somebody from that world, still wanting to be relevant.
Yeah.
It was a very good moment of
because
history,
it could sort of link to her reality.
Yeah, so there was a lot of meta, we call it meta reality, right, where kind of art is imitating life in that. So I thought it was a good story to tell it at that point of view. And of course, I must also say that one of my favorite Hollywood films, and any film student would know, is a film called Sunset Boulevard.
Oh.
Sunset Boulevard is a film about a former silent movie star, Norma Desmond.
Yeah.
Silent movies were made until like the late 20s, and then talkies came in.
Yeah.
And this film was made in 1950, and this woman still wants to be a star, and she tries to make a comeback in the talkies.
Yeah.
So that was one of my all-time favorite films, and it starred Gloria Swanson. So I kind of took inspiration from that.
So after Baji were you finally like, okay, now I can breathe, the nervousness is gone, and I can finally, like step back into reality?
Well, when the film was released, I was totally numb, because I had put so much effort into it, and it was make or break for me also.
Yeah.
Because I have been in this field for a very long time, and by the time I made this film, I was kind of no longer the ace advertising director, so I was also going through my, because after
you can only... You are one of the legends.
Well, legend. You only become a legend once you're no longer that on top of your game.
No.
But I had been directing for a while. I've had fantastic 25 years, but new people come in, everything happens.
Yeah.
And so I made this film, and I
think, sorry, I'm cutting you off, but I still think you're in your A game. The sort of wisdom you have to talk about, you have it all.
Well, no, I'm A game in my wisdom. But no, mashallah, I'm still working. I'm still doing a lot of work. But back then, I think I'd also gotten bored of advertising.
Yeah.
My work was I wasn't putting as much effort into it.
Yeah.
And so, I wasn't as busy as you are with this new competition, new people coming in. Remember, I was part of that pioneering group of young people back in the early 90s, after the media opened up post martial law, who's seen the industry grow and evolve. So, I've had a very lucky stretch.
Yeah.
So for this film, it was for do or die for me. I said, if this film doesn't work, I've really had it.
Yeah.
And so when the film was first, I showed it to my distributors. They said, "Ye to nahi chalegi, ye to commercial nahi hai. Isme ye nahi hai." Then the censor report out of Lahore came out that, oh no, this film is not as good as it should be. So when the film was released, I got very few screens in cinemas. There's another American B-grade horror film called Annabelle, which was released, which got 5 times more cinemas.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let this, I'm just not going to even deal with it. And also the first review we got, I got 0 out of 5. It was for the Tribune.
Oh my God, that's brutal.
Like they said, it's not a film, it's a disaster or something like that. Anyway, then the other reviews started coming in, then they were very good, and then the film started picking up, word of mouth went on, because I always knew that it was going to be a bit of a off-center cult film. But then it really clicked with audiences, and it became a box office success as well. And then I had a lot of problems with some of my actors, with one of my actors who really felt that she got a raw deal, and I was very upset because I thought I'd done justice to her role. Meera was upset. Okay, why did her character get the kind of arc that it did? But
I think she was portrayed in a wonderful way, and you couldn't have done more justice to her character.
Well, thank you. Please tell her when you meet her. But she kind of never forgave me, and I really went through a lot of depression because of that. But having said that, then I took the film internationally to a lot of festivals. It went to all the best South Asian festivals around the world, which is a breakthrough for me, because I made a film for the Pakistani audience, but it resonated with people everywhere, Indians, Pakistanis, foreigners. I took the film to Canada, to the US, to Australia, to
We want
the
to
UK.
see it at TIFF. We really want to see Baji at TIFF.
Well, I don't think it can come on TIFF. My next film maybe, but
Inshallah.
it's on Amazon Prime. So when your people watch it in UK and US, it's on Amazon
So
Prime.
guys, if you're watching from the overseas, you have to go watch Baji. It's on Amazon Prime and
on Amazon Prime in the US and UK.
Amazon Prime on the US and UK. You have to watch it, okay? And you have to give us a review in the comment section or our DMs. You have to do it, okay? You owe it. You have to.
Thank you. But coming back to your question, I'm also now interested in reaching out to the world. Baji was made primarily for a Pakistani audience.
Yeah.
And cinema in Pakistan right now is going through a real turnaround.
Yes.
Because we don't know where it's going to go. Movie going has been reduced by, cinema going has been reduced by like 30% audience shortfall. Web streaming and digital streaming is very, very big.
Yeah.
Budgets are huge for making movies. So financially, economically, it doesn't make sense to make a film just for cinemas.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we do not have the backup of selling films digitally and cable to recoup our money. Our cinema going, kya kehte hain, business model is still just, film model is still just theatrical cinemas. So abhi, I'm not sure if I really want to make the film, but I'm working on a web series. And I'm working on a film script.
Yeah.
And I'm making commercials, and I'm, like I said, I'm about to do a music video.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So things are happening.
So excited for that. I think we really need, as a Pakistani industry, as Lollywood, like you said, we need to have like more internationally, you know, sound films and web series and stuff like that, because I know people who cannot even speak in Urdu and they tell me about Humsafar. They're like, oh my god, your Pakistani drama Humsafar is so nice, and Zindagi Gulzar, and they can't even pronounce it right.
Really?
But they have so much to say about it. My really good white friend, her mother watched it, and she had the subtitles on, and she was telling me about it, and I was like so overwhelmed at the time, because you know my mother's from the industry, and then I know so many people here.
Right.
So I felt so like liberating, because our work is also being seen in the international cinema.
True. But what I meant by international cinema was because, you know, because of YouTube, our work is seen around the world, our dramas are seen around the world, our films are seen around the world, because, you know, YouTube kind of cuts through every age, cultural, geographical barrier. But what I never completed my thought there. What I meant was I want to make cinema for actually a global audience, in the sense of like what Joyland has done.
Yes.
Right? Now, Joyland has been made by a Pakistani director, based out of Pakistan, Saqib, and his film has just won at Cannes. That's huge. And then his short film had also won at Venice, and I saw his short film at TIFF, Toronto International Film Festival, in 2019, and now his film is also premiering. Joyland is also premiering at TIFF.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he'll be there, Saim Sadek, to promote it. So, you know, I'm interested in that. I'm interested in reaching out to that world, because then you can make a film about any topic.
Yeah.
You can be fearless, because there is a different global audience in mind. So Pakistani audiences ke liye Womanllly now want to do something that can appeal to that world, more festivals, more challenging. You know, it'll be interesting to see what one can produce for that. So yeah, that's what my goal and aim is.
I'm so excited for that.
But let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So when you are, you're a director, not only for films, but for multiple different things.
Right.
So what are the themes that you have to sort of see in play before putting it out there?
Right. Very good question. Dekhiye, Pakistan, by and large, officially we're a very conservative society, meaning officially. We like to pretend, andar se we are not at all. We're as like interested in everything, and we participate in everything like anybody else anywhere. But we like to put up these facades.
Facade of being very...
But ye hai ki, when you're producing when you're telling a story or when you're producing content, you do have to be careful, and that's changed. That's changed a lot from when I started back in the 80s, because then you only had TV, you didn't have social media, and you had a very strict censor code for cinema. Now, of course, you can put anything up on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, and there are so many ways to get it across. But still, there are some things that you still have to be sensitive about in Pakistan. One, I think you have to be very careful in touching anything that is potentially religiously controversial. People here people are generally very sensitive. Low tolerance and generally very sensitive. I think you can touch on religion in certain ways, but you can't you can't be controversial about it. And like, for example, when the first breakthrough film of the new Pakistani film culture was Khuda Ke Liye.
Yeah.
And when that film came out, that touched on religion in many ways.
Yeah.
A Sunni guy marries a Shia girl, or a Shia girl marries a Sunni guy. It was a part of the theme of that film. It was also about recruitment at that time. It was 2004-05, at the peak of when we were going through a wave of terrorism.
Yeah.
About recruitment of educated, young boys into the cause of jihad.
Yeah.
And so that dealt with it very, very carefully. Sohaib Mansoor is a genius, and he did that with his film. But then Zindagi Tamasha recently was unfortunately very misinterpreted. It's made by Sarmad. It's supposed to be a beautiful film. It got excellent reviews and recognition worldwide at some of the premium international film festivals that are very discerning. But in that, people thought, okay, that this film is kind of questioning the authority of Maulvis or of the institution of Islam, which is not correct. So that then people have very low tolerance, because then you get into all kinds of street violence and people want to take the law into their hands, and it becomes a very volatile subject.
Yeah.
Other than that, and of course, we can't really touch our, army or armed forces as far as Pakistani content for Pakistani audiences is concerned.
Yeah.
Other than that, pretty much you can do anything, and Baji was pretty bold in that
I feel like a lot of scenes in Baji, which are conventionally not very acceptable, were portrayed in the message was going across, but it wasn't vulgar.
Well, it had questions of sexual identity and power politics and class and all of that. And like I said, my first music video, Behti Naar, got banned. I'll send it to you.
All right.
Because it talked about alternative sexual, kind of practices, and it talked about 2001.
Yeah.
And so people got really freaked out by it, but also, it was like a huge thing for a lot of people. So that video got banned for 2 years. It's still on YouTube and all of that. So I've always been interested in pushing the envelope thematically, but obviously within Pakistan, it's more difficult. Now, you're talking about Joyland. So the new breed of Pakistani filmmakers, people who are in their 20s, who are coming out of film schools in Pakistan, which was unheard in my time. I had to go abroad to study. But now every university has a film department here.
Yeah.
These kids are all, which includes a person like you, you're clued into the world. You've seen the world. You're in touch with everything through social media.
Yeah.
So this generation doesn't censor itself, and they really want to do anything, everything that works for them. So Saim, for example, has made a film in which it's a love story between a transgender and a man.
Yeah.
And it's potentially very provocative.
Yeah.
But he's made it for the international market, and he hopes to release it in Pakistan. And but that's great that he could do it. We couldn't think of doing it, many years ago.
Yeah. And now people are more open to it.
There is a chance that censors might have a problem with it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't make it, because there is an audience out there.
Yeah.
But if I was making a film only for Pakistan, then maybe I would have made a film like this for YouTube, but I would have been scared about making it
because of the backlash and
because
everything.
of the backlash.
So when you started out in the late 80s, not a lot of social media wasn't a thing back then. So not everyone had the voice to sort of come up to you and sort of write it down to you or text it or whatever. So now when you're making a film, there's a lot more that is involved in the whole process of it being released out into the public. How do you think that you want to see now? This is the current predicament. How do you see the Pakistani industry sort of evolve in the next 10 years? And what are the sort of changes and steps that you think we can bring in order to make the Pakistani film industry successful?
Well, it's not just the Pakistani film industry. The global industry is going through a change.
Yeah.
It had already started pre-COVID, but COVID accelerated it. The whole streaming revolution really caught on during COVID, because you couldn't go out and cinemas were shut. So the whole world is going through this change. Pakistan, unfortunately, hasn't been that quick to adapt to this new change, because we don't have the infrastructure in place. Now in Pakistan, what I would tell, I think we're at another cusp. You know, we barely just got over the previous, you know, from the end of the Pakistani cinema industry to a revival. Now we're again, like, where do we go from here? So abhi ye hai ke we need to figure out. We really need to plug into a system where revenue can be divided, and if you spend 10 crores, you're not going to recoup it from your cinemas, because your cinema means you have to make at least 30 crores from your cinemas to make your 10 crores back.
Yeah.
Not every film makes 30 crores.
Yeah.
30 crores is a lot of money for Pakistani. Maybe one film a year will do that.
Yeah.
So basically you need to devise a system where, okay, you know कि आपके 7-8 crore you're getting from your cinema, 7-8 crores you're going to get from your digital, 7-8 crores you're going to get from your cable.
Yeah.
But because we don't have the streaming set up right now, we don't know where to go.
Yeah.
So if tomorrow, so for example, we kind of plugged into the Indian system, and coupled our work with them. So if Netflix or Z or any of the big digital platforms that take content that is in Hindi, because Urdu and Hindi are similar. And we can start collaborating and getting our stuff on there, it'll be very helpful. That's the only way, because you will not have a streaming platform just for Pakistan. It's too small. It has to be much bigger. The investment is huge.
I agree.
So that has to happen. Baki, for young film students and people who are studying film and all of that, there are amazing opportunities, and the best opportunity is making short films. You can make a short film for 20,000 rupees, you can make it for 5,000 rupees, you can make it for nothing. Take your phone, go shoot it, edit it on your film, hire your film, edit it. There are short film festivals, you can put it on YouTube, you can put it on inter-college collegiate festivals, you can send it to international festivals. So there are those opportunities which are amazing. But more institutionalized opportunities are obviously tougher to come, like, you know, whether you want to get a full film made for a festival, proper festival, or for TV or for theatrical release.
Sir, you know how Alia Bhatt was working with Gal Gadot for an international action film whilst she was pregnant, and then Miss Marvel, Fawad Khan hasn't come in any movies for years. He hasn't done any advertisement or anything for years, and then he came in Miss Marvel, and then Mehwish Hayat and all of our
Nimra Butcher, Samina Ahmed, exactly.
All of these people are now collaborating with the international cinema. How do you think that has impacted? Because I know you just said that Miss Marvel has opened many doors for us.
Right. Yeah, so I was just saying that to you off camera. Miss Marvel has opened many doors to us, and we know that, of course, I think episode 4 and 5 and maybe 6 have been directed by Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy, who is a Pakistani filmmaker, and of course has won 2 Oscars for her documentary work, and this was her first narrative work. And the great thing about Miss Marvel was, one, that there's a mainstream Pakistani American character. Right?
And for the first time ever, she's portrayed well, because 90% of the time when a brown girl from India or Pakistan is portrayed in international movies, it's a very cliched wannabe type of character where she's trying to fit in and stuff like that.
Right. So that way it is a breakthrough. I think it's the first time like a brown character has become a superhero and joined that world, the world of Marvel. But it also was an excellent showcase for Pakistani talent. A lot of Pakistani music is part of Miss Marvel and Ms. Marvel. And some of our actors got to act in it. So it opened up this incredible, huge stage, not just for Sharmeen, but also for Fawad, for Samina Ahmed, for Nimra Butcher, and for a couple of other people. But that's also exciting now that internationally our actors are getting this opportunity. Internationally, the space is opening up for Pakistan. Musically, as we know that Pasuri, the song that Ali Sethi sung, got 300 million hits, right? It's become a global hit. Like a
Britney Spears just posted on her feed with that song, and I was like,
wow. So, that's amazing, right?
I hope we accelerate the speed of our...
so things are happening. Not all is dark and dismal. Things are constantly evolving. there are challenges that lie ahead.
Yeah.
But I've always believed that I think Pakistanis are incredibly talented people.
100%.
You give them a little bit of opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't know where this comes from, but we're very resourceful, we're very talented.
Yeah.
And
I
we
feel
know
like
how to make our way.
Yeah, there's a Pakistani word, it's called jugadi. You know, I feel like Pakistani or South Asians in general are very jugadi. If something is not working out, you will find a way. If the stand is not working out, you'll stack tissue boxes and make a stand, and you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
To be very innovative and to make things work, like you just said.
Absolutely, but I also think that we have incredible talent.
Yeah.
That's because, at least as far as the arts are concerned, because Pakistan comes from a civilization.
Yeah.
Pakistanis come from a civilization, many civilizations that are very, very old and very deep rooted in art.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, whether we look at it from the Persian Empire or the, you know, our Turkish roots or our Indus civilization, or the fact that, you know, we were India and Pakistan were once united. The subcontinent has a very, very rich history of art, culture, storytelling, music.
Yeah.
So Pakistanis just never cease to amaze me. We get an opportunity and we do really well.
Yeah.
So we will find a way and we will make our mark.
Inshallah. So thank you so much for coming on to my platform.
Thank you.
This was such a wonderful conversation. I know I was a little nervous at first last night when I was like, okay, like how do I do this and but the conversation flowed like so wonderfully, and I really enjoyed it. I hope my audience does too. So thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure, and I hope I didn't talk too much.
No, I loved every bit of it.